board of Twiga Girls Foundation, and Marta del Castillo, CEO of the Social Nest Foundation. Please give them a hand. Welcome. Her mics. We've got a few technical difficulties, but these lovely ladies will be as amplified as I am in a matter of seconds.
Let me try. Yes.
There we go.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Well, again, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you. So I don't want to speak so much. I just, first of all, just to introduce you, Nyagoy was the former CEO of Fair Trade, and she's also the founder, member, and president of the board of Twiga Girls Foundation. That's a short introduction because I want Nyagoy to be the one who introduces herself and that you can tell us a little bit about your story and who are you and how come that you do this nice path into impact.
Okay, thanks a lot, Marta. It's really nice to be part of the Gap in Between, and it's also a great pleasure to be in this beautiful city of Valencia. Thank you for the invite. Who is Nyagoy Nyong'o? Well, basically, first and foremost, I'm a wife and a mother of 3. I think that is really important for me. I was born...
3 boys or girls?
2 boys and 1 girl. Yeah. All adults now. However, I was born in a very big family. I have 10 siblings. I'm the last one, the 11th in the family. My mother was a small-scale farmer. My father was a pastor in the Anglican Church. Why do I go back to that stage? I think it's because of that stage is what defines me. When I was growing up in the family of 10, we were 7 girls and 4 boys. And one thing of significance that happened then was that my parents treated us as equals. There was no disparity between the girl child and the boy child. Something that was and is still quite prevalent in African culture, that the boys are favored more than the girls. However, we were brought up with equal rights. And I think that's the first step for me to be aware of social justice, that there was equal rights for the boys and girls. Secondly, my father really believed in planting trees. And so we had small woodlots, and he cared about trees.
He was a visionary. He didn't know about carbon offset.
Yes. So that made me aware of the environment. And voila, that brought in the issues of environmental justice in my later life. And finally, in terms of sustainability, my mother was a small-scale farmer. But at that point in time, and still now, the farmers toil day in, day out, especially the small-scale farmers, but they get a pittance. The buyers pay so little. And yet every day this farmer is working and working. And I became aware of the type of economic injustice that happens, for example, in the field of farming. So all this kind of shaped my life. And later in life, I ended up being a forester. My first degree to my PhD are in forestry. I ended up working for Fair Trade for 17 years. I left last year as a global CEO of Fair Trade. And you know, Fair Trade is about social, environmental, and economic justice. But now currently, I retired last year from 8 to 5. So currently, I work for Twiga. Well, I work for myself. I think the gap in between now for me is how do I change the disparities that are between girls and boys? How can I give the young girls the opportunity that I had? So that is what I do today. On the side also, I'm a member of BLAB, the BLAB board, and we know about B Corp corporations, about profit, people, and planet. And in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Wow, that's an amazing track record. And I'm a little bit more curious. Well, I have to say that I'm also a partner of BLAB, and I was founder of the first B Corp and BLAB in Paraguay.
Oh, wow.
When I used to live in Paraguay, so I'm cannot be a more supporter of the movement, and I truly believe, as I said before, that I believe that doing good is a good business, and that we have to make business models that really have a triple impact, not only an economic return on investment, but also return for the planet and the people. And on your side of the challenge you've been like facing and your track record in the development experience, on the one side, in the agricultural side, and also in the social or the female or diversity side, like how has been, like, could you just tell us a little bit how has been all this during these years, your experience in facing or fighting against these amazing challenges in the African region or even globally?
Well, a lot of my experience has been in Africa, and especially in the field of fair trade. Basically, looking at, there's really no way that there can be any form of sustainability as long as there's still poverty where we are. And if I take my country, Kenya, for example, the level of Kenya is about 21% below the poverty level. My own county, Kisumu County, that I come from in Kenya, is I have it the other way around. It's 16% for Kenya and 21% for the county that I come from. And so when we talk about sustainability, we really need to look at aspects of poverty. And my work for the last so many years has been working with small producer organizations to see how they can have sustainable production, but also be sustainable organizations. Because it's only if the farmer comes into an organization in groups that they can have a voice, that they can be able to sit at the table with the buyers and bargain for the trade conditions. And so that is a type of work I've been doing for some time, empowering these farmer organizations, but also ensuring that their organizations are inclusive of the stakeholders, inclusive of the women, inclusive of the youth, so that they all come together and become a formidable force to be able to have a voice. Of course, a lot of the challenges too is around climate change. Mm-hmm. There's a climate crisis, there are droughts, there are pests, there are all sorts of things. So how do we work with the farmers so that they are resilient? How can we reduce the risks that they have as far as the climate is concerned? So what are the adaptation techniques that they can use to basically have be able to handle the climate vagaries that are happening? So, but at the same time, as they address the issues of climate, as they diversify the products they have, we worked a lot with farmers that produce, for example, coffee, cocoa, etc. Cocoa, for example, you only harvest twice a year. So what does a farmer do in between? What are the short and the medium-term crops that they can grow in between so that their lives are sustainable throughout the years? What value can they add into the product that is not just the raw product that they're dealing with? Can they get a living income from what they do as farmers? So this is also about product diversification. Finally, where are the markets? How can they access the markets? The farmer organizations can only access markets if they look sexy. And by sexy, I mean that is if they've got strong organizations, if they've got strong systems in place, etc. So how can they access market? How can they retain market? And how can they get new and emerging markets? So a lot of the work has been around that in terms of the challenges, for example, of the farmers in Africa.
It's amazing because even I've been working for a few years in the South, in Latin America, and also in African countries. It's true that when you come to the North Hemisphere, like we are very concerned about climate change.
Right.
But we don't, because some or most of our social needs, not of everybody, but most of the population, are covered. But we don't realize that we can speak as a global economy about climate change, but if we don't solve the social challenges and we don't include the South and the most important, the producers of the South, there's no way we can face this amazing environmental and social challenges. So it's great to put the voice of the needs of the social needs of the South. And there's I was curious because the gap in between also has this idea that this must be the space to connect different stakeholders. So in your experience, what has been this power of collaboration, or how these collaboration opportunities have been like a way of driving change, or at least catalyzing the impact that you were promoting during your career?
Marta, let me say the first thing about collaboration. I think in any collaboration, there are two things that must be inbuilt: respect and trust in any form of collaboration. And so long as you don't trust each other, you don't have respect, the collaboration is bound to fail. Traditionally, if you look at supply chains, it has been for a long time now that the buyer has the power. And the producer is more or less, it's almost like aid, it's not trade. But the type of collaboration that really, really works is where all actors along the supply chain respect each other and trust each other. And it's not restricted to just the actors in the supply chain. In the supply chain, you'll find the producers, the traders, the buyers, etc., the consumer at the end of it all. But one important player that in a number of cases we forget is also the governments, because the governments, they give the policy environment for us to effectively work. We forget the communities that where we operate on. I'll give an example. You might probably look at it as an extreme example, but it's just an indication of what could happen. Several years ago, we had an investor in tourism in Kenya, and he had a lodge, a very good lodge, doing good business, getting tourists like you and I coming in, paying lots of money to look at the wildlife in Kenya, etc. But what did this investor not do? He didn't respect the local community, didn't involve them in any way. So he was there making loads of money, doing well, looking good in the eyes of the foreigners that were coming in as tourism, but completely ignoring the local community. Sadly enough, the local community became very hostile, and one fine afternoon, they came and burnt down the lodge. I mean, that was a big price to pay, of course, and he had to run away, but it was a big price to pay. But this is just to give you an example of how important collaboration is really important, and ensuring that all the stakeholders are taken into consideration.
I think that's an amazing concept, because it's true. At the end, it's not being the power of the buyer against the power of the seller. It's a partnership. We are all in the same value chain, and I think that fair trade put that together and show all the world that it does not make sense if you don't know the origin and you don't treat the originators or the producers with the respect and the conditions that they deserve. And I truly believe, because at the end, it ends up in people. And if you believe and you trust people, like magic happens. And about this panel, talking about the South and the opportunities, and understanding that we have an audience of entrepreneurs and startups or even disruptors, I was wondering, what do you see that can be the opportunities, the social business or business opportunities that can have a strong impact from your experience?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm no expert that I'm going to sit here and tell you, okay, go and invest in ABCD. But what I can say is taking the advantage of what's happening in the South currently and what is the trend. One of the biggest trend is that the rapid growth of the population in the South. This is accompanied by the growth of the middle class in the South. And with the growth of the middle class, that basically leads to increased number of consumer market. You can already see this in countries like Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, etc. There's really an increasing middle class, and that is a class that is also becoming ethically conscious. So this is a class of consumers. So there's a consumer market growing in the South. So for whatever products somebody would want to take to the South, but there's also skilled labor. There's an increase in skilled labor because there's been an increase in education, etc. What does it mean to have an increase in skilled labor? An increase in skilled labor in the South means that you don't have to take your 20, 30, 40, 100 Spaniards with you if you want to go and invest in the South. It means that you already will find skilled labor in the South. So this is one of the trends and the opportunities that we have. There's opportunity in green business because as we get more and more environmentally conscious, there's more opportunities to invest in the green economy. Those of you who might want to read up, if you read up Mr. Green Africa, this is a young Swiss man who has come into Kenya and he's investing in recycling of plastic. He's having a great impact on both people and the planet on his work. So those are some of the opportunities, but not to forget that also the South also has got a rich base of minerals, agricultural products, etc. But the exploitation now of those minerals and agricultural products is not the traditional exploitation, where you go in, you exploit, you walk out, irrespective of the damage you're doing to the people and the environment. Okay? Now it's also investing to ensure that we all contribute to sustainable development goals, that type of investment that you are not necessarily going to lift the raw products from the country. You are going into the manufacturing, value addition at source, thereby creating jobs for the people on the ground.
I think that's something that we need to have bear all in mind. We have amazing opportunities in the South, and still it's the way we take care of these opportunities in the future.
Exactly.
So we have to leave it here, but I would only say the last chance, I think there's something that you represent. It's also the opportunity of female empowerment. So yes. Thanks so much, Nyong'o. It's been a pleasure to have you, and I hope to have you in Valencia every year.
Thank you very much, Marta. Thank you.